Welcome to the next episode of DeFi Drip, where we talk about all things coffee and changing the world of finance. My name is Cassidy Daly, and today we're joined by Johannes Moormann, product lead at Safe. Today we talked about Safe, of course, and the endless possibilities that we have with account abstraction to changing crypto adoption and evolving our ecosystem. Hey, welcome, Johannes. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Cassidy. Thanks for inviting me to the show.
So first things first, do you like coffee? And what's your go-to drink?
In preparation for this call, I made an iced coffee. It's quite warm in Germany right now. The ice cubes are already melting away. So I will be enjoying this during the interview.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not really much of an iced coffee drinker myself. I've got my hot cup here, but I totally agree with you with the heat. Definitely makes sense.
No, I think like coffee, I mostly started enjoying it properly during the pandemic as my like go-to option to take a walk outside with a coffee and get some fresh air during the home office times. And yeah, now as a refreshment.
Nice. So just to dive in, can you tell us a little bit more about your background and what brought you to Safe?
Sure. So I think my crypto story started around 2015. I was writing my thesis around alternative monetary systems in the EU. And while researching, I stumbled upon Bitcoin. Got a little bit interested, couldn't use it properly for my thesis because I think we were nowhere close to having a replacement currency with Bitcoin back then. Then I think lost track of the topic for a bit and started covering it in 2017, I think, or end of 2016, I think, with like the whole Ethereum story of we will change the world, not only the currency aspects, but everything regarding coordination. That kind of led to me wanting to start back then also professionally in the crypto industry. And I joined then in 2018 a crowd investing company that was doing real world assets in relation to real estate, distributing this to small investors. And my task was to bring these securities onto the blockchain and figure out what are legal ways, regulatory compliant ways to do so in Germany and then scale this to Europe. So I think like great look into the real world asset industry quite early. I think 2019 was also the big security token hype that came, even though then still took quite some time until we saw further applications growing properly. I think like also building a secondary market for them where people could trade these security tokens peer-to-peer gave me quite good insights into how to connect these two worlds. Always been doing this from a product perspective, and that's why right now I'm leading our user interfaces from a product side for Safe. And that's probably half of the reason why we're talking today.
That's a really cool crossover to what we're doing at Centrifuge. Can you tell us a little bit more about your work at Safe and how Safe is contributing to the broader crypto community?
Sure. So I think Safe's contribution to the crypto community is, from a historic standpoint, mostly enabling teams in the blockchain world to natively in a self-custodial world control assets together. I think for also the majority of the time, Safe has been known as building a multi-signature wallet. That's what people use us for, to be able to securely and collectively control assets. So I would say like that's already a big contribution, enabling a lot of things from teams, from DAOs to have this collective ownership. And then last year with the formation of the Safe DAO, we've started even more engaging with the ecosystem by doing a lot of hackathons, by just forming up a grant system that's just about to launch for SafeDAO, by building tooling, contributing in various discussions around what ownership in the blockchain world should look like. So I think, yeah, from various angles, we've played our role in the ecosystem and continue or looking very much forward to continuing to do so.
Nice. I think thus far, Safe has definitely been one of the most important products, most used products maybe within the space as well. What are some of the future plans and roadmap that you have for Safe? I mean, is there anything coming up, future developments that you could share with us?
So in terms of future roadmap, we have to do a little bit the split of, we have the Safe DAO, which is governing through the Safe token, the Safe protocol. And then we have a couple of core teams. Myself, I'm responsible, like already mentioned, for our user interfaces, specifically Safe Wallet. But we also have other teams. I mean, a lot of ecosystem development going on, community management, marketing, and also the core team that is building or continuing to build the protocol, building APIs, building tooling SDKs to really enable everyone out there to build self-custodial solutions on top of Safe. Therefore, there's many roadmaps for Safe Wallet specifically. That's the capacity I can speak most for. I think we want to focus for the rest of 2023 mostly on individual users to really make it easier for individuals to own assets in a self-custodial way with Safe. And doing so by doubling down on account abstraction features. I think probably also a topic we will discuss a bit later. But really, yeah, building a much better and uncomparable custody landscape within our wallet.
So I guess maybe since we can't really jump ahead yet, can you share a little bit more of maybe some success stories or notable use cases that you think Safe has really played a pivotal role in?
In terms of success story, probably like the easiest to give is like a TVL number. If you look at other applications out there, other dApps, since Safe is also a contract based wallet, you could say TVL securing over 60 billion out there on various networks. It's definitely like the easiest thing to showcase. That alone is a tremendous success. Staying strong during the bear market, continuing to build. That's definitely one thing. I think like the other thing I'm really proud of is what of an ecosystem we have created, multiple tools, multiple interfaces building on top of Safe, serving different users, user niches in the best possible way. And all this like around the Safe protocol, I think that's a huge success story. And then on like the still smaller scale level, but something I would like to see much more in the crypto community is like more humanitarian causes that we kind of facilitate by enabling, for example, for the Turkey-Syria earthquake, the formation of a relief fund where Safe is kind of like the core infrastructure, where people can donate to safes that are controlled by a collective of trustees coming from the crypto community, and are able to do so without like questioning what is the security behind this, who is this custodian controlling it. I think just enabling these people to set us up super quickly in a secure way that people trust is a contribution I really like about Safe.
I think, yeah, as a pioneer, maybe in a lot of these spaces, I think Safe has really found this balance between the complexities within the crypto space and all of those things behind how this value is moving around between users, but also having a really good user experience and one that's understandable. So how is there something unique in which leading product that you're thinking about this?
In terms of improving user experience, or
How you find the balance between the easy user experience and the complexities in the crypto world?
I think one key is there's like a lot of information, and we have a lot of expert users who are kind of requiring this information to be visible in the interface, so they can check every parameter of their transaction, versus users who are less experienced and who want to use the interface also for their daily interactions. Building an interface that kind of offers both, and kind of satisfies both needs, and doing this in a good way. Just like as an example, if you make a transaction on our wallet interface, you're able to review really all parameters that you have. You're able to copy all this data. You're able to look at full simulations of your transaction through partners such as Daly, which we integrated. So really going into a technical exploration of your transaction. But at the same time, we give you a risk assessment tool with Redefine that provides any user an overview of, hey, how risky is this transaction that you're trying to do, flagging major risks that you would never, or only with really strong experience, be able to detect. And I think like this is the this the thing we try to make possible as best as we can in the interface. And so far we're getting a lot of good feedback from both sides for the way how we implemented this.
Nice. I guess maybe really briefly, just because many of our listeners might be curious, Safe spun out from Gnosis recently. And so curious to hear, what some of the drivers might have been behind that, or how the shift for you has been over that period.
So the spin out was a result of Gnosis doing a lot of things, but mostly in the recent times focusing on Gnosis Chain, which is a chain we support, but Safe lives also on other networks. And I think like the major success story was coming from Ethereum mainnet itself. That the feeling was that within the Gnosis DAO governance system, Safe cannot get the recognition it needs at the size it already had at that point. And so going forward, we really wanted to create a governance structure that can focus on the Safe protocol itself fully and in a dedicated way with its own community, even though there's like a lot of crossovers, of course, from both sides. And doing so with our own DAO seemed the best way forward, and that's why at some point the Gnosis DAO voted upon the spinout, and after a successful vote, we made this happen, and I think the key difference now for the team is that we are way bigger than we were before the spin out. Of course, there's like a lot of responsibilities being added to the team with such a spin out, but also with this whole DAO communication and collaboration part. And working, I think, even closer with the community is definitely also another side effect, but expected side effect of the spin out.
That's really cool. I think it's a really great side effect to have.
Agreed.
So I want to shift gears just a little bit into probably a topic that you think quite a lot about, and that's security. I think many would argue that Safe is a foundational tool within DeFi. And I think pretty much every DAO on Ethereum probably uses Safe to manage their treasury. Can you explain a little bit for us what makes Safe so important for these DAOs and for DeFi users, and especially with respect to security?
So I guess in terms of security, also historically the most important, but also the simplest fact of Safe was the ability to create multiple keys. to your smart contract wallet or smart account, and say how many of these keys need to come together to make a valid transaction on behalf of the organization, whether that's a DAO, whether that's a Web3 native team. And that's already like a major improvement compared to what you're able to do with EOA wallets, especially back then. So this like multi-signature use case was surely like one of the key drivers that's enabled teams to have a setup with that they felt secure, and that also has proven very secure over the recent years. But it goes also much further. Like since it's a smart contract, you're able to attach arbitrary, we call them modules or guards to your safe that are able to give like more fine granular access to certain assets that you control. You're able to install guards that are able to check transactions for certain parameters that they are met, and really modularize the security you have in, again, a self-custodial way. And many organizations without solutions like Safe would have to fall back on centralized custodians, giving away ownership, having to trust these custodians. So yeah, I think that's like one of the answer of why Safe plays such a role in regards to security.
I'm curious if you know or if you have a strong opinion on why you think we haven't really seen a competing tool that does provides a similar service. I mean, why do you think Safe has become so widely adopted without having, maybe, in my opinion, a very strong competitor yet in the space?
So also there historically, I think timing played a big role, and kind of developing tools for your own needs. So when Nose did the ICO, one of the first ICOs or first big ICOs in the Ethereum landscape, they needed a multi-signature contract to control assets collectively in a secure manner. So I think like always building tools for your own needs guarantees that if there's other people with the need, you already have like great product market fit. And since ICOs were only ramping up back then, a lot of teams were falling back on the solution. And then of course, like building better and better interfaces so people can more easily interact with the smart contract account, further like establish the trust. And I think like it's this trust that we've built up over all these years that gives us a unique position in the custody or self-custody world, and that played a crucial role. There is competitors in the custodial, but also in the self-custodial world. But I think like this trust factor plays a big role in the decision making of teams, of people. So probably an attempt of answering your question.
No, thanks. I think, yeah, having a long-standing reputable team behind this, to me, sounds like a very strong reason why Safe has really stood out in that area. You mentioned briefly account abstraction before. So can you explain to us what that is and why you think it's important in the context of crypto adoption?
Sure. So the concept of account abstraction is nothing new. It has been discussed in the space for a long time. And it's also fair to say that Safe always has been account abstraction since the inception of the first contract, because it's addressing this topic of that there are two types of accounts in the EVM world. You have externally owned accounts, namely most wallets out there are externally owned accounts. If you use MetaMask, for example, you create with your seed phrase externally owned account. That is then ultimately your public and private key, the private key that you need to keep secure, or in many regards the seed phrase from that the private key is derived. And in the EVM world, you still need, for any transaction you want to make, you need an externally owned account to wrap your transaction and execute the transaction. So even if you want to do a transaction with a safe, you need to have an externally owned account or somebody else providing that through relaying that is then executing your transaction. I think a lot of members of the community want to move away from just having externally owned accounts as kind of the standard for how to interact with the EVM blockchain. So that's kind of like the essence of what account abstraction means, is moving away from having your public key associated to this one single private key or seed phrase that you need to keep secure, and offer like strong alternatives for this, which then can be taken to the protocol level, that you could make changes to the protocol level to establish like account abstraction on the core level. Right now, this is not the case. Right now, we have to kind of work with workarounds on normal EVMs. But account abstraction is also about adding a lot of features on top of that. For example, is that you already like the multi-signature use case, that you remove this requirement that there's just like one private key that controls your account, but you can have multiple keys that control your account. You can also establish a lot of alternative signature schemes. Something that's often discussed is in the world of quantum computing, that you're able to build quantum computing resistant signature schemes, but also something like session keys. If I'm in a game, I don't want to sign every transaction that I make in game while trading assets or whatever, where I can use a session key to say, okay, for these specific assets, I apply this session key. So doing offering you a huge toolkit of different things you can do then with smart accounts versus like a normal EOA wallet. So that in a nutshell is account abstraction.
And yeah, it sounds like it opens up a lot of different possibilities in the future. Can you give us maybe an example or a use case of how this account abstraction improves the user experience?
The easiest example for how does account abstraction improve the user experience is gas handling. So right now, if you want to do a transaction with a normal wallet, you have to take care of the gas payment, meaning you have to fund your account with the respective native token for the network. You have to set the gas parameters and then execute this transaction yourself. Inside of Safe, just as example, if you use Gnosis Chain, for example, with the Safe, we use a decentralized relaying network for a transaction, meaning you can create a Safe or create transactions. And Safe, with our partner Gelato in this case, is taking care of the execution and payment for this transaction, which for Gnosis Chain, for example, is especially suitable since transactions are quite cheap, so that the user in the end does not need to think about all these factors, does not have any prerequisites to create a safe or to execute these transactions, and therefore drastically easing the experience or the interactions as people are used in the normal world, where you never have to pay for transaction fees. I think like the easiest example there is that you have to go to the post office and buy a stamp to put on your letter, something that is really inconvenient and something that right now you have to do in the EOA world.
I think, one of the things that comes up time and again is user experience within crypto and improving that, but of course also security and privacy. So I'm curious, in what ways do you think account abstraction is also enhancing security and privacy?
Security on the foremost is improved by account abstraction by allowing different signature schemes, by allowing fine granular access. Also there with the safe, you're able to create a spending limit. So you can say account X is able to pay parts of my funds which you can do really limited, meaning you as a person can say, like you're able to do with your credit card, I want to have a daily spending limit of 500 euros. I'm not comfortable with more, or you just say 5 euros if that's your limit, whatever your needs are. And you can say, these 5 euros or 500 euros, I'm able to transact with just one signature. Everything above it needs 2 signatures, and from a certain threshold, you can even require 3 signatures or more, really depending on your own security needs and like your risk appetite, but just also mostly how much does this portfolio mean to me. And this is just like one example how you can enable like customizable security that fits much better your needs than, again, just having all your assets behind one single private key or one single seed phrase, that if people get access to it, unluckily can take all your assets from you. So that's definitely one key. Then in terms of privacy, I think like we're just starting there to explore zero knowledge options, to have different signature schemes where if I'm a collective, I wouldn't even know who's signing a transaction there, because it's behind the zero knowledge proof. But of course, also on other networks like the Artstack network, I would in the future be able to use something like a safe in a completely anonymized anonymized world. So that's a few examples for that.
So it sounds like, I mean, most of the examples you gave sound really safe specific. So things that one could do with safe potentially in the future. I'm curious, maybe taking a step back, like how do you think Safe has changed the way that users interact with DeFi? And do you think these changes will change this even more?
That's a good question. How has it changed the way people interact with DeFi? I would say like the biggest influence probably is that people didn't get hacked. People kept their assets and kept interacting with DeFi, and that's probably the biggest thing, because other examples, but we can also speak later about this. Other examples are like, how can you interact with DeFi in the sense of that with a smart contract account, you're able to batch transactions, meaning if I want to do multiple things in a DeFi application, I can batch all these transactions together and execute it at once, saving me a lot of gas, saving me a lot of time. That's probably another way, but I think there we are already like only like in the beginning of like that phase where the concept of account abstraction, the concept of smart accounts is recognized, and the DeFi world is only starting to adopt to these new possibilities.
So I'd say it sounds like it's a pretty exciting time, both for DeFi and for Safe, to look at these new possibilities.
Absolutely. I think the excitement on our side is there. That's why we keep building, keep shipping, because we believe that we can make DeFi much more accessible with this, and we're not alone with this. Apart from Safe, there's also other great smart wallets building, such as Argent, such as Empire. We're building great user experiences. So I think the adoption of smart accounts is only getting started, and the implications of it.
That's awesome. I think so. Centrifuge is actually a proud new addition to the Safe ecosystem, and we focus specifically on tokenization and financing real-world assets. So I'd love to dive into maybe a little bit deeper what account abstraction does for this specific use case, and if you think that it's changing the way real-world assets are represented and managed in DeFi.
So for real world assets, I would say a lot of implications are the same as for the normal DeFi world. You're like yourself as a Centrifuge building an application, you're able to build a better user experience by using smart accounts, by doing stuff like the gas abstraction for your users, which you can do with or without us with any smart account. That's for sure one thing. But I think talking about real world assets, we will probably always have like some custodians who are able to provide some valuable services to users, and also there with Safe or any smart account, you're able to build hybrid custody solutions that have as a goal to better protect the user, where he has some self-ownership, some form of self-custody, but a custodian could then come in and, for example, co-sign transactions. So you make a transaction as a user, this co-signer checks the transaction against your recent behavior or past behavior, against security risks and so forth, and only gives a signature once it's deemed secure, or asks you for another approval. You can also use custodians to as kind of a recovery mechanism for you. If you are a first-time crypto user and you don't have friends yet who can act as your guardian, like in the Argent sense, then I think their custodians can make a lot of sense. Obviously, like you need to take a lot of security considerations to build a good system for that still enables you to have some form of self-custodyship. And then lastly, I think a lot of automation will be able with smart accounts. So you will be able to automate a lot more processes going on in the real world asset landscape. That you can build with smart wallets to streamline everything needed around a bit more complicated asset type, since it has this connection to the real world.
So it sounds like with Safe and other smart wallets and account abstraction, there's many, many more possibilities of how a user can interact with different smart contracts. And I think, to me, it sounds like that opens up a lot more room for usability and eventually, hopefully, adoption as well into the space.
Absolutely. That's what we are trying to do, and we love to work together with you, and therefore also love that you are as official part of Safe now as a Safe app. So users can interact more easily with Centrifuge through our interface. And looking very much forward for what we can build in the future.
Yeah, same here. I guess looking ahead a little bit more, I'm really curious to hear more about how you think the ecosystem will evolve generally.
I think first of all, now we have to survive kind of this bear market phase, which we have to prove a lot of the hypotheses that we made. I think in a time of non-increasing prices, in a time of just like stagnation of crypto prices, of DAO tokens, and so forth, we really need to see how engaged does the community stay in making governance decisions, in keeping engaged with your protocol under like these new conditions. So it's really like a proving phase. Do you have like a sustainable model in place for the things that you set out for? So this will lead to like a lot of consolidation, I think. We are, like as already said, like we feel like we're just at the beginning of enabling a world that fully recognizes account abstraction, meaning hopefully in the DeFi world, in the real asset world, we see a lot more adoption of these features, a lot more adoption of these concepts over time. But that also is like a big task for us to build out with our ecosystem the tools that you need, and also provide them through our interface. I think like that's like a short-term outlook on what we will see, and then I guess in regards to real world assets, real world asset adoption, From my personal opinion, is something that's still missing is like solid stable coins. I hope we see some development there. Very interested to see what nation states will come up with, and if we will get something that is not complete surveillance and full control over your assets, but if we will get some okayish models there, because I think a trusted stablecoin plays a big role in the adoption of these. So very interested there. I hope that we will see more in regards to privacy. Also I think like a topic that's discussed forever now in the crypto industry, but also recently a lot. But transparency is nice, but we can't going forward in 10 years have like adoption of everyone in the world in a completely transparent financial world. I think there needs to be some form of privacy. So I hope that we were able to make a transition into kind of like a hybrid model there of transparency there where it's needed for people to trust protocols, to see transparently what's going on with the assets that lie behind a certain on-chain fund that I have, but also the privacy where it's needed. Small outlook into into the future.
I'm hearing a lot of potential challenges there, but I'm curious what you think some of the biggest opportunities are for DeFi.
I mean, the biggest opportunity is getting meaningful adoption outside of the crypto bubble that we have right now. And I think like we have everything like conceptually to outcompete TradFi in like a short amount of time. I think like it's for me it's almost like a given that we will be able to do so, but for that the market will be way bigger than it is right now. So I think we have not nearly fulfilled this kind of this mission or this kind of given. Again, there with the challenge of regulation, how do we work with the regulation that is in place? How do we get meaningful regulation for crypto in the future that enables these decentralized use cases and is like clearly distinguishing between failures in the centralized world and failures in the decentralized world.
Thanks. And thanks again for joining us. I want to ask you one final question, and it's our juiciest question that I like to ask everybody. If you could share one or two hot takes with us, either around DeFi, real world assets, or even just long-term outlook on crypto.
Hot take, I would say we have, I mean, like coordination failures or solving coordination failures is still like one of the things that keeps me most interested in crypto. And I think we have failed yet to present meaningful real world use cases there. So that's really something like on a small scale, we have proven something. And within the crypto community, I think we've done a lot of tremendous coordination, but we've really failed yet to bring these to the real world. That's something we need to work hard at as a community to enable these and like look closely into communities, how we can do so, and then I think I hope it's not really a hot take. I hope we get good adoption in a over time in a non-explosive way. I think like in the beginning of the year, the talks about Bitcoin might be worth 1 million within 3 months or any time frame like this. For me, is like a highly scary scenario. I want to live in a crypto world where wealth is distributed in a okayish manner. I don't want to create in the world just a new crypto elite that is possibly having good intentions, which we cannot really control with so much money in a few hands. So I hope that this is evolving slowly over time, so that kind of wealth is distributing a bit, and not locked in the hands of a few. Because what is the saying? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. We can't, or I don't want to count on people having these good intentions, but really, the more people have a stake in crypto, the better it is for governance processes, for where we develop. So hopefully this is evolving in a good way over time, or we find good measures on how we tackle this distribution problem.
I think that's a really great note to end on. Lots to think about there for our listeners. Thanks so much for joining us, Johannes.
Thank you so much for having me, Cassidy. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, same here. And see you all soon. Till the next episode.
See you soon. Bye-bye.